Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello. We're studying tests, and this is our second lesson, and we will read item number 2 from the Tree of Life by the great Kabbalist Dr. and naturally the explanation called Inner Light by Bala Sulam. So, item 2. All this exists in Russian, of course, if you want to read it later on, and it's original in Hebrew. This part is translated. We must say that not all parts of tests are translated. There are 16 parts, but the first, third, ninth, they're translated for sure. Item 2. The reason of creation to reveal his names and appellations. And he writes, Dr. When it rose upon his simple desire to create the worlds and emanated beings to bring the perfection of his deeds, his names and appellations to light, which was the reason of the creation of the worlds. So it turns out that the Creator created creation and the worlds to show the wholeness and perfection of his actions. Sounds kind of egoistic. He created everything in order to show the perfection of his actions, in order to express his perfection and the wholeness and perfection of his actions, to reveal it to whom? To the created beings that would attain his actions, and through his actions would attain himself. Later he explains that the worlds, they're like filters, like concealments. He concealed himself in order to what? The Creator himself is concealed. He is unattainable. What we attain are only his actions, which he reveals. He reveals himself in his actions, and through his actions can we depict to ourselves who he is. Even though that the essence of the Creator itself is unattainable. Okay, Bala Sulam, he explains the following. However, in Ein Sof, it is a simple desire, because he is one and his name one. The light in Ein Sof is called he, and the will to receive is called his name. And there is simple unity without any form of separation. Ein Sof means endlessness. What does it mean? He and his name are one. He is the force itself, and his name is what generates that force. The essence of the Creator is we can't attain it as we have said before. His actions are his actions inside of us, and based on his actions, we can decide on what is his essence. Well, not the essence of the Creator himself, which is unattainable, but of the essence of his revelation to us, the good that does good. This is eventually what we attain. So, he is a force, light, and his name is the desire to receive the created beings. Can we say that? Yeah. And there's a result of the way in which we sense, attain, and acquire his actions on us. To that extent, we attain him. And what is that state of simple unity or oneness? It is what we can attain as a result of our gradual equivalence of form with the Creator, our nearing with him up to the point of adhesion, even though that we are the complete opposite of the Creator. He has created us in his image as a print of himself, but as a result of it, and as a result of it, we become like him, and as a result start feeling, sensing, understanding him. Then Bala Sulam writes, he explains the Ari. He says, you should know that separation in spirituality occurs only by means of the spirit or form. Just as corporeal entities connect and separate through proximity and remoteness, so spiritual entities connect and separate according to their difference and equivalence of form. The disparity of form separates them from one another, and remember this is a key element. What form are we talking about? Qualities. The quality of the Creator is complete bestowal, love, closeness to the created beings, His created beings, and the quality of creation is the opposite. The created beings are created as if in the image, as a copy of the Creator, as an imprint, meaning as an emblem, meaning in complete egoism, thinking only about themselves and nothing else. And so this oppositeness between the Creator and the created beings, on the one hand, allows the created beings to exist, or creation to exist. And even though that it might seem contradicting, negative, but the created being exists. The created being is distinct from the Creator. It is an oppositeness to the Creator, and precisely because of that does it exist. So, in other words, we can say that the Creator, He had no other option, if one might say, to create creation or the created beings as the opposite of himself, but as the opposite of himself, and the created being has no option, no possibility to express himself in relation to the Creator, but only through equivalence of form with him, becoming like him, because from the complete oppositeness to the Creator, the only thing that the created being is left with, and the only thing that he needs, is to reach equivalence of form with the Creator. This is actually a true state of the created being and the Creator. The Creator is unchangeable. He is absolute in all of his actions. He has only utter and complete love and bestowal. Nothing can work on him, influence him, change him in that. He lacks egoistic desires, and therefore it is impossible to influence him in any way. While the created being is completely egoistic, existing only in the desire to receive, doing everything only to its benefit. And this is the only way that the created being can exist, such as the Creator created it. So there's the law of equivalence of form. Even scientists talk about it, that all devices are built that way. Everything's made that way. This is the nature that we exist in. So I need to calibrate something inside myself on the wave that, so to speak, the Creator emanates. This is already the correction of creation. If we will be able to somehow change ourselves. How can we change ourselves? This is some kind of a distant attainment. Meaning, if the created being starts feeling that his desire is not only to do something to his own benefit, but also something that is to the benefit of the Creator too, then I'd say that it is already an action that is supernatural, against nature, for the created being. But such an action the created being can perform, but it will not be considered an action, but intention. And here we stumble upon one more quality, spiritual one. intention. We'll talk about that in a moment. In the meantime, Balasolam writes in the next item about the wondrous quality of the oneness of the Creator. What is this wondrous quality of the oneness of the Creator? It is that in all of his actions he is absolutely good, only gives and bestows, thinks, and intends to do everything for the sake of the benefit of the created being. He has no thought about himself, but only in relation to the created being that he has created. He has no desires for his own sake, for himself, so-called desires to receive. Therefore, he can't be the source of any negative actions, meaning everything that he does only for the sake of, in name of, the created beings. I think Balasolam wrote that the Creator does not think about himself, he doesn't think whether he exists or not. So we too need to reach this kind of state? Well, yes, we will have to come to this kind of state as a result of our correction. And that's called the wondrous quality of his oneness. Yeah, it's a wonder. So not to think about yourself, to think about others is a wonder. Yeah?
Далее пишет Бальсулам, что совершенство
Then Balasolam writes that no thought attains endlessness, since this is beyond our own mind.
Зачем тогда писать?
So the question is, why write about it if we can't attain it with our own mind, what's written?
Мы не можем его постичь нашим земным разумом.
We can't attain him with our corporeal mind, but the entire wisdom of Kabbalah is based on a method in which man changes his mind, reason, quality, nature from reception to bestowal, and to the measure in which he acquires this quality of bestowal, in it he can feel the Creator.
Далее, следующий пункт называется сокращение.
Next item is called the restriction of the light around the middle point, writes the Ari.
Вот тогда сократила себя бесконечно.
Ten Sof then restricted himself in the middle point, in the very middle, restricted that light and drifted to the sides around the middle point.
То есть, говорится о творении, которое называется...
So we're talking about a created being, a creation called Malchut of endlessness, of Ein Sof, that restricted itself. What is that Malchut of Ein Sof? What does it mean that it restricts itself? What conditions or status are we talking about here? And what for? The thing is that in order to give the created being the ability to exist in his initial state, for that, the created being the Creator needed to create a place. And he created it. Place meaning what? It is such a quality in which exists our creation, created by him, the creation in the desire to receive, which is the opposite of the Creator, in the desire to think only of himself, to enjoy only that which it feels. That's called place. Place means a desire to receive, a desire to sense itself in the best possible way, condition. So before that, he fulfilled everything, and when he restricted himself, what remained was that place called the desire to receive that doesn't feel the Creator. Yeah, the Creator as if inside himself, if you can put it that way, in that realm, some realm, he restricted himself. He does not emanate his qualities there, and what was created there is empty space, empty of his influence. And in that empty state, empty space, the opposite quality to the Creator appeared, the desire to receive pleasure, to think only about oneself. This is the created being. And because of the law of equivalence of form, there is no equivalence of form here, so as if the light disappears, meaning the pleasure is not felt, a pleasure from bestowal is not felt. Yes, so we don't feel pleasure from bestowal, but only from reception. Yes, it is a special place, realm, space. That's called our world. Yeah. Next, Balasulam writes. He continues, it is perplexing, for since there is neither Rosh nor Sof there, how is there middle? Because he restricted himself in the middle point. Moreover, are we dealing with the corporeal matter here? No, obviously we're not talking about anything corporeal, we're talking only about qualities. So the Creator, as if restricted himself and created in himself such a realm in which the created being, which is his opposite, existed. The created being exists in that realm. On the one hand, it is sustained by the Creator, he supports it, develops it, even though that it is his complete opposite. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. It needs to exist in the Creator, as if in his qualities, forces. On the other hand, it is his complete opposite, otherwise it would not have been the created being, separated somehow from the Creator. Therefore, this is how it develops. Yeah, but why did it restrict itself in the middle point? It's like geometry, it's what? Central, meaning that all the intentions, all the actions of the Creator, all of his thoughts are directed toward that central place, that realm that he designated, and the desire to receive that is developing in that space. Before that, we said that the Creator is the good that does good. This is what Kabbalists attained, and this is what they tell us about. Meaning they don't know who he is in and of himself, but in relation to us, created beings, this is how his actions are determined, and we feel it. We don't always feel it that way as the good that does good. Of course, the Creator, according to what Kabbalists who attained him already say, they define or characterize him as the good that does good. But this is for Kabbalists. But when you start investigating this all, then obviously you don't yet feel it, and you come to this state from its opposite, from the opposite side, but that's gradually. So the final goal of bringing the created being to the degree of the Creator, who is the good that does good, but on the way there are different situations. On the way there are different, opposite, unpleasant, partially situations, because the created being needs to change in order to feel the Creator. Who is he on the one side, on the other, and all of his changes, metamorphosis. So, this is all studied in the wisdom of Kabbalah. and is its basic part. Can we say that the Creator is hidden and the reason for it is because we can't feel Him as the good that does good, so He can't be revealed as evil? Yes, if we want to feel Him, please change yourself from bad to good being, and to the measure of equivalence of form. When you become good as He is, in that measure you will feel Him. That's the main law in Kabbalah. Law of equivalence. Yeah, because it's hard, if you look at the world, to justify everything that is going on. It is impossible. Only to the extent that you acquire the quality of bestowal, and then in it, gradually, according to this quality, will you start sensing, seeing that the Creator is good. Okay, now we're moving on to how the Creator created creation, and Bala Sulam explains that this light gradually restricted itself, meaning he writes that in 4 phases it moved more and more, became more and more distant, moved further and further away, up to the point where the created being finds himself in a state where there is no light. The gradual moving away from the Creator is the cessation of the sensation of good, eternity, wholeness, and perfection. And this is how the created being is gradually moving away further and further by these, as a result of these, or along with these restrictions by the Creator over it, becoming ever more distant from the Creator, changing its qualities, because the created being, meaning because the Creator influences our works on Him less, up to the point where the Creator is practically unfelt, can't be determined, can't be attained, and that's it. As if there is no connection between the Creator and the created being, but we must say that this is only in relation to the created being. And the Creator, He continues working on him like he like He wants. Can we depict the following, that creation is the still vegetative, animate, and the human level, and between them there are certain connections, and these connections, ties, in our sensations disappear all the time, because the Creator is the quality of oneness, of connection. So, can we say that, if we can say, at a certain point in time, were they more connected, and that this connection gradually goes and disappears, up to the point where we feel ourselves on the human level where these connections exist, but we don't feel them. Yeah. And in general, it's all only in relation to us, the created beings. Those states that we exist in, we see from our world as well, that depending on the circumstances and qualities that we're in, that's how we also feel things. Sometimes the world seems good, kind, bright, filled with wondrous things, and sometimes we feel the complete opposite. So the changing of our qualities is actually what expresses or depicts the world to us according to our qualities. So if we want to feel the world in its true form, then we need to consist of all opposite qualities. And this is what our spiritual development is included of. And this is what we need to come to. Even scientists, philosophers talk about it. It's the law of dialectics. It's the connection of opposites. Yeah, these two qualities need to be connected in us. The one in the form of a tremendous egoistic desire, the other in the form of a restriction over that desire and the quality of love and bestowal, which is the opposite to the egoistic quality. There is desire, and we need to consist of these two qualities. Then Bala Sulam explains that this created being was created by two forces, the light of Chassadim and the light of Hochma, and the light of... He says that Hochma and Hassadim, the light of Hochma is the vitality, the light of Hassadim only operates as a correcting light for the correction of creation. What are these two lights? The light of Hochma is something that man at first doesn't feel at all, but the minimum of minimum in our world, when he wishes to delight himself with something, feels a microdose of that light. And the light of Hasadim is also felt only in the measure that he has the desire to delight, give pleasure to others. So, in practice, these two lights to begin with are hidden from us, and we need to start developing ourselves such that we will start feeling these lights. And they usually are attained throughout the method of the correction of man, the method of the wisdom of Kabbalah, meaning in the measure in which we exist in a group, wish to come nearer, closer to the friends, wanting to become bestowers like the Creator. We practice the quality of bestowal as much as possible. And then, in that measure, we start feeling how the light of bestowal from above of the Creator starts entering us. And next, the most interesting thing, I think, Bala Sulam writes about how through the four phases, creation itself, meaning our desire, was created. We study it as anatomy about how our desire was created. He says that there were four phases that exist in every created being. Necessarily the first is called Hochma. Phase 1 is called the first expansion of Hochma. Phase 2 is called the first intensification of Binah. Phase 3 is called the second expansion, or Zer Anpin. Phase 4 is called the second intensification of Malchut. He says that the one is the male, the other is the female. What can you add to this? This is a very serious topic, the four phases of how the four phases of light expand. The Creator has created the desire to receive. And the light, meaning the Creator, work on that desire to receive. And under its influence occurs the emanation, meaning occurs the development of that desire in four phases. Two phases are the influence of the light of the Creator, or the Creator himself, no matter how you put it, on the desire, and two phases of reaction of the desire to the light of the Creator. And as a result, what you get is that under the influence of the Creator, who's loving, giving, wishing to fulfill the whole of creation, the created being expands his desires, and they are fulfilled by the Creator, by his influence over it. And then, correspondingly with that fulfillment, the created being feels certain changes in him. So there's the phase of being fulfilled by the Creator and the changes in the desire. Again, being fulfilled by the Creator, and again, a change in desire. So two phases of fulfillment. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Bala Sulam speaks about it. By the way, there's this article by Bala Sulam, which is the introduction, which is the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, where he explains every phase. Yes, it's a very important, it's the foundation of the Wisdom of Kabbalah. He elaborates less on it in tests, but we'll learn about it. And this is real Kabbalah, right? It is the language of Kabbalah. that, well, I wouldn't say he invented, but how to say, he revealed it. Dari revealed it, and before that, in this language of restriction, distancing, equivalence of form, etc., no one wrote it before like the Ari did. Right. It was all the Ari, all these phases, emanations, everything was revealed to him, and he was the first to write about it. He set the foundation for the entire wisdom of Kabbalah. Well, actually, they were also known to the author of the Book of Zohar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Rashbi, but Rashbi could not write it all in the way that the Ari did. Not that he knew less, but simply he lived in such a state, in such a period, in which it couldn't unfold yet. To receive, he couldn't yet express it. He didn't have the tools, so to speak, for it, the ability. Well, that was 2,000 years ago. I think that the most unique thing is when people write all of these definitions, and maybe it's not exactly clear, but that we talk about it, it already works on us. Yeah, that's very important. A person, even if he doesn't do anything, but he simply listens, still there are certain changes going on in him. Because we're talking about certain qualities that touch our roots. Yes, so there's some kind of feedback. Okay, so in 30 minutes we went over a few items, and next, as I understand, he will tell about these 4 phases. Yes, thank you very much, and until next time.